Welcome to Between the Reads, where we shine a spotlight on some of the most talented Black authors in the industry to discuss their works of fiction and the inspirations behind them. Each episode, we'll dive into the rich and diverse world of literature, exploring everything from historical fiction to romance and speculative fiction to YA and beyond. Tune in as we celebrate the voices of Black authors and the power of storytelling. Are you ready, Boos and Bros? Then sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Jennifer Vassel is an author and the founder of the children's media and self-love brand I Am Unique, which encourages people of all ages to overcome insecurities and share their unique gifts with the world. Her entrepreneurial journey began after a life-changing sermon on New Year's Eve 2012, and in 2014, she published My Channeled Energy, a book of poems and stories that became an Amazon #1 bestseller. Jennifer's efforts have been recognized in publications like Forbes and Essence, and her brand has reached children globally from France to Uganda. A Southern California native, she holds degrees from Loyola Marymount University and Azusa Pacific University and serves on the board of Stuck Designs, a nonprofit aiding underserved girls. Jennifer's greatest pride lies in inspiring others to discover and use their natural gifts purposefully. Jennifer, welcome to Between the Reads.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I always forget what I've done. Whenever the bio's read. So thank you for the reminder.
Listen, I have had authors come on the show and they're like, I did all that.
When you're in the thick of it, you forget sometimes. So
gotta be reminded.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. You are welcome. So tell us what this children's book, I Am Unique, is about.
So it's about a little girl named Erin who has a birthmark on her face and a passion for acting. She wants to try out for the leading role in her school's play, but her friend tries to discourage her from trying out for that role. So she has to figure out if she's going to let that get in the way of her dream. And the whole story and the mission of I Am Unique is really to inspire kids and adults to overcome their insecurities and share their gifts with the world. So throughout the first book, I Am Unique, we're seeing Erin start off as confident and then second guess herself and feel like she has to hide a part of herself in order for her gifts to shine. So without giving too much away, the end, she kind of comes into herself through various things that happen. But it's a reminder for all of us, even as adults, because I believe that everyone has that inner child in them that hasn't fully addressed that thing that makes them want to cower down and not be their true self. So it's a reminder for all of us too, to really go after what sets our soul on fire.
So what inspired you to create Erin's character, particularly her birthmark and her passion for acting?
Erin is inspired by my childhood experience. So I have a birthmark that covers a quarter of my back and a part of my shoulder.
Wow.
It's pigmented. It's like a greenish, freckly. It has green pigment on it, and then it's also freckled. It was something that always stood out to me, and I was insecure about it growing up. I didn't see anyone with it, and so I always thought something was wrong with me. People would I never been the type to like so much attention on myself. And so when people would ask, oh, is that a scar? What happened? Is that a bruise? Or like people were insinuating that I've been abused. And so I'm like, no, that's not what it is. So to avoid those conversations, I would just hide, cover up, wear certain long sleeve tops, jackets, things that would cover it up to avoid that conversation. And so when I was thinking about a character, first of all, I wanted to write a story. Now that I've overcome my insecurity, I wanted to write a story where I'm inspiring other people to overcome theirs. It could be a child who's currently going through something. It could be a birthmark like Erin's, a childhood scar, or maybe something that we can't physically see. But I wanted to really touch kids and even adults who might be going through something in that way. So yeah, short answer, it was me. I was writing the story that I wish I had when I was going through it.
So this is a question that I didn't even write down, but now that you're talking about it, so what was that moment where you just said, "I'm going to embrace my birthmark. I'm not going to be ashamed of it." Because on your website you have a
Mhm,
really pretty off the shoulder shirt, and you can see the birthmark, and it
mhm,
to me it's attractive. It's unique. But what was that moment for you where you stopped and stopped hiding it and said, "You know what? This is me, and I don't
mhm.
care about the stares or the questions."
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So when I first noticed that I had a birthmark or something that was different about me, I was around 7 or 8, and I held on to that insecurity until 18. And
Mhm.
even for my prom, I had the makeup artist cover it up, and so I would say safe to say about 10 years of hiding from
Mm.
7 or 8 to 18. And then when I got to college, I felt like that was my a permission for me to read to push restart on my life, like,
Mhm,
so to
mhm.
speak, because I'm like,
Right.
I'm throwing away high school, like I hated high school, and that now I'm going into a newer chapter.
Mhm,
I mean, and I was still in a season of discovering who I was and being okay in my skin. So it was that moment in or that time period where, I was away at college, trying to figure out my footing, in certain social groups. And I just thought, let me try wearing a tank top because
mhm.
I got tired of seeing these cute girls wearing cute maxi dresses
Right.
in the summer. And I was thinking back and thinking like, I'm the one saying that I can't wear these things. I remember distinctly saying, "Oh, I can't wear that. Like, why
Mhm.
not?" So I just
Right.
I asked myself, why not start? And I wore a tank top to class, and I was looking around to see if anybody was looking at it the
Uh-huh.
first time that I wore something that covered my birthmark, and no one was saying anything. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I felt a little bit more comfortable. And I think that as I got older, I stepped out of that insecurity. I stepped out of like being playing small. And then now I'm at the point where people don't say much. They might glance at it, but it's not something that makes me feel like, insecure. Or if
Mhm.
they do ask about it, I just say, oh, it's a birthmark. Where people are, I think aware enough to know that it is. And if not, then I'm fine with saying it.
Now, how did you back up. How did you go to prom with the makeup and not sweat it off?
I
Of
know.
it
So I was really calculated about this. I wanted a halter top.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, so the dress was a halter. It had strings around it, and so I would tie the neck.
Uh-huh.
My whole back was out. So when it didn't sweat, he put a setting spray on it. I didn't sweat it off. Honestly, I barely danced that night because I think I was subconsciously thinking about it rubbing off on my
Sweating it off.
hair.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And it did get on him a little bit, but I was like, you know what? I want it to look absolutely beautiful. I didn't care. So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just, I limited my movement and just made it happen. But
Uh-huh. You jam come on, you be like, oh wait, no, gotta stay cute. Gotta keep it cute.
yeah,
Don't
but I intentionally picked a dress that wouldn't that wouldn't touch it because it's
Mhm.
it's right underneath. uh it's a part, it's all right here. It's a part of my
Mhm.
shoulder, and then a little bit where my rib cage is, so it
Mhm.
wouldn't touch the clothes that I was, or the dress I
Okay.
was wearing that night. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I was
for what
just
it
getting
was.
that visual, like your favorite jam coming on. You like, okay, y'all go ahead and dance. I'm gonna be over here and just fan myself and just sway a
Yeah,
little bit.
and then
Just
I'm on
sway.
top of that, I'm not much of a dancer either, so it wasn't a problem for me.
So it worked out.
I wanted to go to prom for the pictures, and I
Right,
got the
right.
picture, check, and then that was it.
You were
We could
good.
do whatever.
You're like, all right,
Yeah, yeah.
check
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Got the
Right?
pictures. We
Yeah.
good.
But it's so funny to look at those times. I mean, everybody grows from something or some. I mean, most people aren't the same as what they once were, but it's so
Right.
crazy for me to look back at those times where I just really like it was really a vulnerable time in my life, and
Mm,
I can't even
mhm,
imagine myself being like that now. I have
mhm.
so much more awareness, but we all go through something, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I'm probably gonna bring attention to it, and I hate it, but, when I was in high school, I had of course, I had my hair was straight and long,
Mhm.
and people always made fun of my forehead, so all of my pictures from my youth, I have the bangs
Uh-huh,
because
uh-huh.
I was so self-conscious about it, and when I went natural 14 years ago, I became self-conscious about it all over again because,
Mhm.
I had to go natural because, relaxers were making my hair fall out. So it was like it wasn't something I was doing to be cute. It was something I was doing for my health.
Mhm, mhm.
And then all of a sudden, here was this old insecurity that came back up again. And I had to learn to, I was just like, oh well. And then I think what's funny enough, what made me embrace it was whenever I go places, people think I'm Ethiopian,
Ah.
like,
Yeah.
like all the time. Like we went to a restaurant in Baltimore called Dukem, and the owner came out and sat with us because she thought I was Ethiopian.
Wow.
And everywhere, if there's an Ethiopian within like a 2-mile radius of me, they will look me out and be like, and I'm like, what? And they're like, your forehead. And I would get really embarrassed. And they were like, no, that is a thing of beauty. And I
Wow.
was just like,
Okay.
"Really?" And they were like, "Yes, that is a thing of beauty. Ethiopian women are beautiful, and the forehead is a thing of beauty." And that's what made me just kind of be like, "Oh, okay, well, forehead is
Yes,
beautiful."
I love that story. And Ethiopian food is so good, by the way.
Girl,
Love
I
it so
learned how to
much.
make it, and that's the
Yeah.
thing that made it worse because Ethiopians never believe me when I tell them like
Mhm.
I'm not Ethiopian. I even had the DNA test done, and there's like no Ethiopian. The closest is like Kenya, which is like right below.
Okay.
But I make
Cool.
the food so well, and, like, I know how to eat, like, the injera and stuff. They always looking at me like,
Mm.
"You lying.
You're
You
probably a
came over
big
here."
you're a close, close cousin.
Right.
Close
They like,
yeah.
"You lying. You
Yeah.
Ethiopian. You just came over here and trying to hide." I'm like, "I promise you, really, I wouldn't deny it if I was, but I'm not. I'm
Wow.
really not." Oh, well.
Mm,
So, the book summary
mhm.
mentions the influence of media on perceptions of beauty and success.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on how you hope your book counteracts those influences?
Ooh. I, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't see a lot of books out there. I didn't see any books
Mhm,
that children's books that talked about self-love or insecurity or birthmarks for that matter. And what I hope that the I Am Unique brand does is serve as an example for girls today,
mhm,
to not only see themselves in the stories that they read and the content that they consume, but also know that the standards of beauty, there are different standards of beauty. Your example is a great one about the forehead. Like
mhm,
that's different cultures find different things beautiful.
mhm,
And knowing that I want to be able to be that living, breathing example for girls and women too, but I want to touch the children because that's when those insecurities really fester when they're earlier in their ages and someone says something to them and that's when it starts.
mhm,
And when we see the media and we see uh, especially social media where we're seeing women of all sizes and some are getting more exposure than others because of the way they look or the way they sound or what is deemed as success. That's something that I want to combat with the stories that I tell.
mhm,
There was a study by Dove. They did a self-esteem project where it said that 60% of kids feel insecure about themselves, and I believe it's 7 out of 10 feel that they don't measure up or
mhm,
they are not good enough in some way. And
mhm,
we always feel that way sometimes,
mhm,
like where we're not good enough or we're comparing ourselves to the next person, and social media is
mhm.
definitely the place where people we all do it. I
Yes,
do it
yes.
myself where I have to catch myself. I'm like, wait a minute, this person is on their own path. I don't know
Mhm,
what they sacrificed or what they had
mhm.
to do to get to
Right.
that point.
Mhm,
And if I knew, would I switch places with them? You don't
mhm.
know, right?
Right,
So,
right.
so in addition to the children's media brand, I also want to like build up my personal brand where people, when they see me, is synonymous with self-love
Mhm,
and 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 to show a different perspective or a different voice than what's out there as far as representation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like certain groups, there's a lot of representation for some groups, and then none for, or zero to none,
Right.
or little to none for others. So
Mm-hmm.
so to be that added voice and bring forth that diverse perspective is definitely a
Mm-hmm.
life mission for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Erin's best friend questions her suitability for the leading role because of her birthmark, but for acting. So, what role do you believe peers play in shaping children's self-perception and confidence? And why did you feel it was important to address this in the book?
I'm going to repeat that back to you to make sure I'm answering it. So what roles do peers play with accomplish or
With shaping children's self-perception.
yeah, what role do they play? And then the second part of the question?
And why did you want to address that in the book? Because basically, her best
Yeah.
friend, made her question
Mhm.
her goals and made her question whether she was good enough. And that's something, like you
Yeah.
said, that a lot of our insecurities start when we're children. So why did you feel it was important to address that in the book?
Yeah, so the first part of the question, the peers,
Mhm.
what roles do they play? They play a significant role
Mhm.
in influencing
Mhm.
themselves and others, or like who, because we become the sum of who we associate ourselves with.
Mhm.
There's a saying, or whatever you want to call it, but you're the sum of the five people you spend the most time
Mhm.
with. So naturally, if Madison and Aaron are spending a lot of time together and they're friends, and then they're like little kids, there's going to be some rub off there. Like there's going to be some exchange where Erin will give into or listen to what her best friend is saying and thinking like, oh well, this must be true if it's coming from her or a
Mhm.
confidant. So I think that our peers play a really big role. Our environment plays a big role as well. What are we being exposed to? What are we
Mhm.
listening to? Who are we around?
Mhm.
um, it was important for me to address that because it's a real life situation. It's real life.
Mhm.
A lot of my writing is inspired. It's directly inspired by what happens in my everyday life or people that are around me. I'm very much an observer, so I see a lot of things, and and I incorporate that into my writing.
Mhm.
We have a lot of uh, I just lost my train of thoughts.
That's all right.
Oh my gosh. So why was it important for me to incorporate that? Because okay, it was because it is real life, and it is something that we deal with every day. And I wanted to humanize the story and make it relatable.
Mhm.
Um, I've said before, like, yes, it is a children's book, but then I'm also writing to adults who are dealing with certain things, or they might have not
Mhm.
fully addressed those things as a child. So
Mhm.
it's really therapy or cathartic for them to um, to be able to read the story and judge, or even look at their own lives and see, okay, who do I have around in my life? Make an assessment about who are they hanging around, and is it in alignment with where they want to be, or the goal, or their goals and dreams. So hope that
Mhm.
answers your question.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I think it is important because like you said, those insecurities, they start when you're kids,
Mhm.
and I think it's especially important for young Black girls and boys because we have a whole other set of insecurities that can happen. Like for me, I grew up in the 70s and my brother and I were like the only two Black kids in the entire elementary school. And
Wow.
growing up in the
Mhm.
70s, right on the cusp of the civil rights movement, that had its own set of challenges. And so there were insecurities that I had because of the racism that I was dealing with teachers and kids and people looking at me differently because of the color of my skin and me not being
Mhm.
able to process that and then beginning to think that I'm less than because of what people are saying. So,
Mhm.
it's just important that it shows, like you said, you're the sum of the five people you're hanging around. And if you're a little Black girl in a school full of white children,
Yes.
what does that do to you?
Right. You start absorbing
Right.
their mannerisms, their
Hmm.
thoughts, or
Hmm.
thinking whatever they might be saying about you or to you is true if you
Yes.
don't have something to combat that.
Yes.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what were some of the challenges you faced while writing sensitive topics like, insecurities and self-perception for a young audience?
Mm. What were some of the challenges? I wanted to the one challenge in writing, it was because I'm writing for dual audiences. Like I want the audience that I'm writing for, they're the ones with the buying power, the parents, right? So I'm
Mhm.
writing it in a way that it's attractive for the parents and for them to buy into the idea that yes, this is an important, like we need to talk about emotional intelligence, self-efficacy. Those things are important for kids. And then also while also writing it in a way that will reach children,
Mhm.
right? And it can't children are not buying the books for themselves. So it was like, so the challenge for me in the beginning was really like, how can I get into the hearts of the parents and the
Mhm.
educators to invest in their children in that way versus focusing on entertainment, or not to say you can't, but earlier on when I was going to certain events, what I would be met with was, oh, my kid doesn't like reading,
Mm.
or oh, we're on our way to, go to the store and buy shoes and things like that. Kids will outgrow those name brand clothes, and
Mhm.
and the entertainment and all that stuff. What really will hit home is the foundational aspect, the emotional aspect of books and the importance of reading. And they won't know the importance of reading if it's not demonstrated at home.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would say that would be the first. That was earlier on. The challenge was getting the meeting the parents where they are,
Mhm.
or even finding. Not every parent is going to parent the same, but
Mhm.
finding the ones that fit the psychographics that I was looking for, like someone who prioritizes education
Mhm.
and literacy and knows the importance of the emotional learning and things like that. So yeah.
Mhm. And speaking on adults, so what I wanna know what motivated you to create separate guides for parents and
Mhm.
teachers, and what key elements did you focus on in these reading guides?
What motivated me to write uh, the parent guide and teacher's guide, because it was the fact that I wanted it to have supplemental information that parents and teachers could use as an extension of the book. It was
Mhm.
to encourage further conversation. The teacher's guide, I made sure that it was something that educators would want to incorporate in their curriculum. So
Mhm.
that was something that was motivating for me. I've had different school districts and schools buy the books in bulk because they want to have that in their classroom. And then they
Wow.
buy the teacher's guide too, so that they can look at the common themes. So I'm Unique is all about self-efficacy, perseverance, self-love. And so some of those themes, they incorporate it into their programming for the school. So that was the motivator. For parents, it's the same idea. I wanted
Mhm.
parents to have a tool to, if they want to have a further discussion around the book and they need help with discussion questions or even activities,
Mhm.
uh, to kind of nurture that love for reading and keep kids engaged in reading. I wanted to give them ideas that they can use off the pages to further engage those kids.
Mhm. And so how can parents and teachers collaborate together and use these guides to reinforce positive messages at home and in school? So you
Mm,
kinda touched on that a little bit, just to expand
yeah,
upon that.
I think how they can partner together. I'm thinking. I'm imagining um, certain themes in schools, like there could be a readathon, or there's something going on at, or inviting authors to come to schools. And then when those universities, excuse me, not university, when the schools have those events, they can invite the parents to come to listen to the authors. They can
Mhm.
also invite the send things home to let them know that, hey, there's additional information if you want to dig deeper into this month we're focusing on self-love and self-efficacy. We're
Mhm.
bringing in this author. This is what we're doing as a school
Mhm.
to stimulate the love for reading, and then also to teach kids these emotional skills. So like I think keeping the line of communication open, and creating transparency around the themes that they might have or might implement at the school, and letting parents know how they can participate.
Okay. So the I Am Unique brand, tell us more about it.
So the core products are the books.
Mhm.
And when I first started, I didn't imagine how big that it could be.
Mhm.
My initially I was thinking, I want to get this story out because this is something that, I was dealing with, and I want to inspire others to overcome it. But it grew bigger than that. And
Mhm.
so with the I Am Unique brand, there's also, well, the books are the core products, but we also have merchandise,
Mhm.
so we want to be able to create different touch points for parents and educators to be a part of our self-love universe,
Mhm.
so not only merchandise, but totes and the guides that we mentioned, the coloring and activity books, different touch points that we want to invite people into our world and
Mhm.
show that. And so in the other stories, Aaron is still a part of the stories. We also want to we are introducing other characters
Mhm.
who they have an insecurity that they want to overcome, and Aaron serves as that beacon of light to inspire them to overcome it.
Mhm.
Through, they might go through different challenges in that. So the brand is really encompassing the messages. No matter what your insecurity is,
Mhm.
um, you can overcome it, and you like believe in yourself enough to share your gifts with the world.
Mhm.
And we also want to get into licensing, and adapting the book series into an animated series. So I'm Unique is all of that and more.
Wow.
So started from one book, and we're growing it into, the self-love brand that it is, and just wanting to create impact and touch as many people as possible.
So I guess you just answered my question about, what's your vision for the
Mhm.
brand?
Mhm.
You really just want to expand and really get into the communities and just really let people know, about their unique gifts and embracing it, that type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yes, and then supplementing it with toys and merchandise and
Mhm.
licensing. Um, and more stories. So the
Mhm.
stories will always remain like our core product, but then we currently have supplemental things that support the brand, just like how you see, the Disney franchises.
Right.
Like there's dolls, there's backpacks, there's like
Right.
you name it.
Blankets, pillows.
Blankets, yeah. So that's where we're tracking. We have that. And we just want to continue to grow the brand, and make it more known.
So do you have ideas already for more characters for more
Mhm.
books?
Mhm.
Can
Yep.
you share a little bit, or you just it's
Yeah,
on lockdown?
so, what can so one is okay, so we talked to, Madison is a friend, so she's already been introduced. The
Mhm.
other characters that we're going to introduce is a grandmother who's inspired by my 104-year-old grandmother. So
Wow.
I want to start talking about like the the generation of strong, like resilient women
Mhm.
that are inspired from my life, but I'm also introducing that into the I Am Unique story.
Mhm.
And then there is another character who is going to be Aaron's cousin from Jamaica. That's
Oh,
my
wow.
Jamaican roots. And so
Okay.
I'm going to be incorporating my Caribbean side into those stories. And then what other? We have a couple boy characters.
Okay.
Um, one of the characters is dealing with an insecurity about he's really into the math and sciences, but he's insecure about he has a skin condition,
Mhm.
and I want to introduce uh, Black men in professional spaces in that story. That's going to be the
Okay.
priority there, because I don't believe that there's enough positive stories where it's centering Black boys surrounded by strong Black male examples and
Mhm.
professionals. So
Mhm.
yeah. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So when do you think do you have a date for the next book that's
Mm.
coming out?
Yeah, the goal is the end of the year to have the next book out.
Okay.
And then my biggest thing, I recommend people just staying close to me on social,
Okay.
join our
Okay.
mailing list, and that's the best way to learn about what all is coming down the pipeline.
Okay. Well, I have an idea for you.
Okay.
I have a thumb that doesn't bend. I have no knuckle. So if you
Okay.
ever wanna, like, have a little, character that has, like, just a little physical that was a big 'cause see,
Oh,
it's you probably wouldn't understand it now because they don't do penmanship in school anymore, but when I was in 4th grade, we had penmanship,
uh-huh, uh-huh.
and you got graded on how you held the pencil, and because my thumb doesn't bend, I had to hold the pencil, like, kinda weird and, like, rest it on
Oh,
my
okay.
and, oh my god, I got made fun of. I would have loved to had your book in 4th
Oh,
grade.
okay. Oh my gosh. Like, we
Yeah.
all have something about us, it's just and the whole mission is to show, like, despite that, right?
Right,
You can
right,
still be who you are.
right.
It's yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So, I wanna know about this life-changing sermon that you heard that kickstarted
Oh
your
my gosh.
entrepreneurial journey.
So, I'll start by saying this, like, growing up, I didn't know that writing could be a viable career path.
Mhm,
Even though I was showcasing my gifts at a really early age. So, I wrote my first poem at 6,
mhm.
my first short story at 8, and I was published by 9, but
Wow.
I wasn't surrounded around folks who were writing or showed that being a creative was a thing, like you could
Mhm.
earn a living and you don't have to be on the side of the street living in a cardboard box.
Right.
That's the narrative that I knew, like, oh, starving artist, but hey, I have a passion. But no, I didn't know that it could be what it is.
Uh-huh.
And so I ended up getting my bachelor's and master's degree in business administration. So I went the traditional education route.
Mhm,
And really, every corporate job that I've had, I never really felt at home. Really, I've never felt fulfilled.
mhm,
I was always feeling like I had to put on just to fit in, and it just
mhm,
was really eating away at me. Um, and it started off with a question of like, well, what there has to be more to my life than this.
mhm,
And New Year's Eve 2012, that was the New Year's Eve night that I chose not to go anywhere. I stayed home and watched a sermon, a streamed sermon from Word of Faith Family Church. Bishop
okay.
Dale Bronner had said, "Don't die with your gifts still on the inside of you. Impart to others what was entrusted to you."
Wow.
And that was the fire that really lit lit me up. It
Mhm,
really I from that day forward, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna stop living beneath my potential and I'm gonna put out my work." As
mhm,
vulnerable as I felt, I was like, "You know what? I'm on assignment. I need to get it out."
mhm,
So that's when I started compiling poems and short stories that I had written from as early as 6, 8, and high school, college, and beyond. Compiled it, and I published my first book in 2014.
mhm,
And that's the one that's called My Channeled Energy, and was really like therapeutic for me because here I was questioning myself, questioning, like, what am I like, there has to be more to my life than
mhm,
just me getting up and sitting in traffic and sitting in somebody's cubicle.
mhm,
I mean, no disrespect to the people who that's their lifestyle, but I felt like there was something else that I needed to do.
mhm,
And I felt like it didn't feel right to not put myself out there
mhm.
and do it now and do it urgently. So
Right.
when I heard that sermon, I started just typing away and going into old flash drives. I like to call myself an organized hoarder. So I had old flash drives with all my work, and so I just compiled everything and put that book out. And that was the start of it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. That's great. So, you're an eyewear enthusiast.
Yes.
Share a little bit about that with us.
Yeah. So I remember in high school, so I've been wearing glasses for a long, long time. I first started wearing glasses when I was 6.
Mhm,
And back then they were like, they weren't cute. They were just like, those wire glasses and just not stylish at all. And like it was just a part of my face. Like it was just
Mhm.
always something that I needed. I needed glasses to see. And then I got to high school and I'm like, I want to change my look. I want to change my look a little bit and do something else. So I started getting the black frames, like the studious artsy ones. And so I
Mhm.
was like, okay. And then I'm like, well, I want to completely change my look. I want to start wearing contacts. Like I'm tired of wearing glasses. At this point, I'm like this is the period where I'm really like trying to find who I am
Mhm.
and and be comfortable in the skin that I'm in. So I went to the eye doctor and they told me that in order to get the contacts, I had to put it in my eye 2 times and then take it out 2 times.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have uh, the biggest, I do not like eyeballs. I don't like touching my eye. Like that is something, and so it makes me sick to my stomach anytime I get an eyelash in my eye because it'll just stay there. I'm not gonna try to push it out. So how is that gonna work? If I feel queasy about touching my eye, how are contacts gonna work? But
Right,
I
right.
forced myself to do it. I was like, my heart was racing. I put the one contact in. It got in, but then I started like tearing up. My This one eye just kept flowing with water, and then I fainted. So I woke up, slumped against the wall. They
Wait,
called the
wait,
parents.
wait, wait, wait.
Uh, yeah, hey, I can laugh about it now, but I was so devastated
You
and embarrassed.
fainted?
I fainted. I fainted. I was so worked up to get the one contact in my eye. It got in, and it was just running like a waterfall, like how water comes out of a faucet. That's how it was running. And then I told the lady I was feeling dizzy. That's all I remember. And then I was just I woke up slumped up against the wall, and they had the paramedics there. They didn't know what had happened to me.
Jennifer! I mean, it wasn't funny then, I'm sure,
But
but now it's just like,
so that from that time on, I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna be cool. I'm never gonna be able to wear because I was tired. Like back then, I was like, not everything goes great with glasses. I
right.
want to switch it up. So long story short, I had that moment, and then I started, being more comfortable with myself and just my personal style. So around 2016, 2017, I started like buying different frames.
Mhm.
And each year I would go back to the eye doctor and just um, get new frames and then just have the prescription filled. And I would continue to wear the ones that I got, that I purchased prior, because my prescription didn't change that much. My eyes, my vision has stayed pretty leveled and consistent for the past since 2017. So I still
Mhm.
wear glasses from back then. So I just started like accumulating and accumulating. Then I'm like, you know what? I'm like really into this. This is something that I'm to the point where I know, like, I don't have to be inside the physical store to pick up glasses. I know my measurements. I know what works for my face.
Uh-huh.
And I have I have a look down that I like.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Okay.
you know what? And so I just figured, if this is going to be a part of my face, I'm not doing the contacts thing. I can, and then I can't do LASIK.
Uh-huh.
That was a solution, but then my sister showed me the operation. It's so invasive, and
Right.
you're still awake. So I'm like,
Right.
no, I'm not going to do that. So this is going to be a part of who I am. It's a part of my personal style. And and it's good, it's great for identifying who I am. Like I get stopped sometimes with like, oh, you're the girl with the bob and glasses, like, oh, I am unique, right? Like, so there's an association
Nice.
now. So I'm like,
Nice.
what, I can't change,
Right. Right.
even
Like,
so yeah, that's the long answer, like how it came to be. And now I'm like really like inspiring. Like I'm not even gonna say aspirational. Like I want to have my own eyewear line,
mhm.
and I
Mhm.
have ideas in mind. And there are certain glasses that I buy, and I'm like, oh, I would do this a little bit differently, like, or I would do it in this colorway, and I haven't seen that out yet. So I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what, I can make it happen. I will make it happen.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. So there you go. It's going to be added on your website. The books,
Mhm.
eyewear.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
like those websites that, I told you, we talked about this before the show. A good friend of mine, she was telling me about the websites and, like you can take a picture of your face and then it'll put the frames on your
Oh,
face
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, and but it doesn't work for me. I just have to get the regular little glasses because it got my little peanut head. And when I try to wear the
Um,
nice big frames that I love, it looks like I'm playing dress up. I can't
uh,
carry it off.
well, hey,
So maybe when you make your eyewear
yes.
line, you make some for the little peanut head people like me.
I was about to say, when it launches, I will be sending you a different variety of frames and
Yes.
getting you to love the big bold or the bold ones that fit or complement your face. For
Yeah, cause
sure.
I have a little head, I got a little peanut head, so I need glasses that aren't like, cause my head is like narrow, and that's what they tell me when they take the measurements. They're like, oh, and they're like marking the little line. They're like, okay, yeah, you have a little head, so and it's not just like this part, but like the width of the glasses. It's hard to
Ah,
find stuff that fits that doesn't like fall off.
got it. Okay.
So
Well,
when you
I'm
make
glad
it,
that we talked about that. So I will definitely keep you in mind. But there will be variety. There will be, bold ones. It'll be complimentary. So
okay.
keep that in mind when I'll keep
Make them
it
for
in
little peanut head people, please.
mind.
Have a look, you call it peanut head line. You got the regular then you
And then
got the
I'll have
peanut
the
head.
friend, it'll be Audra.
Yes,
That's the name of that one.
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can readers find your books, Jennifer?
They can find it on our website at www.imuniquebrand.com/shop. If you would like the book signed, definitely go there. The book is also available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, Target, different retailers. But yes, if you want the book signed, go to our website, imuniquebrand.com.
Okay, and where can we find you on social media?
Everywhere at Jennifer D. Vassel, and also my website at jennifervassel.com.
And that is Vassel, 1 L, y'all.
Yes,
One
one
L.
one L.
1 L.
And it's
Okay.
Vassel, not Vassel, Vassel. No, just think of Vaseline and just cut off the "ine" and it's Vassel.
And thing is, I don't even know how I knew that it was Vassal. I just said Vassal. And then when you said Vassal, I was like, oh God, thank you. I said it right.
Oh, I'm so glad. Like I can't tell you how many times it's mispronounced, and it's only 6 letters. So hey, but I
I
think it's
feel you.
because it's a double S, so they want to make it fancy, Vassell or
Like,
something
no,
like
y'all, it's
that.
Vassal, baby. All right. Well, we have come to the end of our show. Thank you so much for being here, sharing your time and talents with us today. I appreciate you being here with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. Thank you again.
Oh, you're most welcome. And y'all know what I do at the end of every show. I like to leave you with a quote. And today it comes from the late, great Maya Angelou. And she said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Until next time, y'all, you know what to do. Grab a book and read. And I am out. Thank you for lending me your ear today. If you've enjoyed this independent podcast, you can help me continue to shine the light on Black authors and their stories by becoming a patron at patreon.com/betweenthereads or by giving a one-time gift at www.ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. That's ko-fi.com/betweenthereadspodcast. Tune in next time for another great episode.